A doctor is only as good as his knowledge of anatomy. A really good pilot knows the parts of his plane and how they work together. So it's only fair that a proper sound engineer, a proper mixing engineer, knows a bit about his instrument, which is the mixer. I know you all want to jump straight to mixing, but even if you're only a DAW person, almost all DAWs were inspired by real mixing consoles. No wonder most producers are usually sound engineers as well. Knowing a bit more about your instrument will help you connect more to your craft, will help you in troubleshooting, and it will allow you to have a mental picture of your workflow. We will first have a look at how analog mixers work, and then we'll have a dive in DAWs. Let's learn a bit about the history of our favorite craft, which is mixing. A mixer is an electroacoustic device designed for the purpose of combining, processing, and adjusting multiple audio signals. Serving as the nucleus of sound reinforcement system, a mixer orchestrates the integration of diverse audio sources, allowing for precise manipulation and coordination to achieve a coherent sonic output. So how about the origin of mixers? The root of mixers traces back to the early days of audio engineering, when creative minds sought ways to control and balance multiple audio sources. The motivation was the necessity to harmonize these diverse sound elements, such as multiple microphones or instruments. This evolutionary process gradually evolved from rudimentary manual configurations to sophisticated electronic consoles. Let's have a brief look at the evolution of mixers. In the early 20th century, manual signal routing was used. In the 1990s, basic means of routing using patch cables and switches. In the 1930s, emergence of broadcast mixers for radio stations. In the 1950s and 1960s, the analog console innovation came.
My voice has actually been coming to you from one of the world's most astonishing and versatile devices, an Ampex tape recorder.
Ampex Corporation. Founded in 1944, this legendary electronics company revolutionized the radio, recording, and digital industries with its pioneering concepts for audio, video, magnetic tape, and data storage.
In 1956, the Ampex 200A, one of the earliest commercially available audio mixers, was birthed. For the first time, we had an introduction of rotary knobs for volume and equalization.
This is what they call an Ampex 350, which is a 1950s, mid-50s tape recorder, and it was the same model that Sam Phillips used here at Sun Records to record Elvis Presley on.
Alright, then in the 1970s and the 1980s, we have expansion and channel strips began to be birthed. In 1970, the API, the legendary API 248 iconic analog console with dedicated channel strips, was birthed.
Hi, I'm Jeff Ehrenberg with Vintage King Audio. We're here today at Gold Digger Sound, one of the king-size Sound Lab studios in Hollywood, California, with their API 2448. The 2448 represents a tremendous value proposition from API, where before the 1608 console was about $52,000, one would have to spend $200,000 or more to get into the Access, Legacy, or Vision consoles from API.
I actually call it the grandfather of modern mixers. And so we owe a lot of what we do in our world of music to the API team, the API 2448. And then in the 1980s, we had the birth of the SSL 4000 series, the solid-state logic groundbreaking mixing console. I can confidently say that the majority of hits that you've heard in your lifetime has been made on the SSL.
Let's take a look at this lovely SSL 4048 console. The console, or mixing desk, is the centerpiece of any recording studio, and solid-state logic, or SSL, particularly their 4000 series consoles, are synonymous with high-end recording. In the past, using a large-format console was pretty much the only way to make an album. Now, of course, you can do all of this on a computer, but if you have access to a studio, you might find you prefer working hands-on with the desk.
So, as he has said, the only way to make music back in the days was through the console. It's only after the consoles that we had the DAWs. Alright, we have reached the 1990s. known for the digital revolution. Here's where everyone wanted to go digital. It was seen as the next step of innovation, and absolutely the digital revolution was very transformative for audio. The gigantic audio processor cabinets were no longer needed, as all was now being packed in a small frame. Though still very large by our standards in these days, but in those days it was a revolution. And the very first digital mixer to be known out there was the Yamaha O2R. It was a pioneering digital mixer with onboard signal processing. I like to call it the father of all digital mixing. And then in 1999, affordability became something very important, and we have the Behringer Ampex 9000, which is among the very first affordable digital mixing boards for a broader market. And there we go. And then we reach our century, which is the 2000s up to now. Nowadays, the ideal scenario for a top sound engineer is a blend of digital and analog. In 2001, Avid made the DigiDesign D-Control, an introduction to touch-sensitive controls in digital mixers.
Pro Control is DigiDesign's modular control surface for music recording and post-production. It gives you direct access to every software function within Pro Tools. It maintains the look and feel of a traditional, world-class console, yet offers much more, and that's the total integration with Pro Tools. Pro Control can be expanded up to 48 faders and also include an edit pack, a dedicated module for surround panning and editing, with over 70 function keys, high-resolution output metering, and a custom QWERTY keyboard and trackball.
That mixer was very revolutionary for its time. In 2010, Soundcraft SI Performer is among the very first digital mixers to integrate a touchscreen interface. As we begin to reach the 2010s, the prices began to fall and technology began to really shine in the world of audio mixing. That's why we have the outstanding budget-friendly and popular early-day brands such as Behringer X32, which debuted in 2012 for a price of $3,000, the Allen & Heath Q32, which came in 2014 for a price around that time of $4,000, and the popular Midas M32, which had its debut in 2014 for a price of around $4,000, and then the Yamaha TF, which had a debut in 2015 for $3,300. So how does this information actually help you? So learning a bit of history will help you appreciate the technology at hand and help you appreciate what you're doing. Knowing where the technology is will also give you a better perspective of where you are currently and how you can actually improve in your world. But as we go on, we'll get to learn also the workflow. How does it actually work? All of that relates to what you're doing when you're mixing, when you're producing. And so it is an important information. I'll see you in the next video.